Yeah, most. Here on behalf of most to just announce to you that, as some of you may know or you may not, right now is a month of Ramadan for Muslims. It is the month where Muslims will fast from sun up to sundown, and is a very spiritual month for them. And so we, as the most team, have thought of a good way to try to help these people, and that's by having a day of prayer. Specifically, next week, Wednesday, the 26th, over lunch, we're going to skip lunch, and we're going to meet in the library and just spend the whole lunchtime praying over Muslims. We chose this day specifically because the 26th is the day before the night of power for the Muslims, for Islam. And basically, that's a night where the Muslims stay up and they try to get special revelations from Allah. It's a very spiritual time. They try to earn merits so that they can go to heaven quicker or easier, or along those lines. I'm not fully understanding all of that. But the point is that it's a very dark night. And we as Christians need to be trying to reach those that do not have the gospel, that do not have the truth, do not believe the truth. And so all of us on Most, and we're inviting all of you too, whoever wants to come, to just come to the library during lunchtime and just pray over that these people might hear a little bit of the truth, that their hearts might be softened and opened to the gospel, and that missionaries who are working with Muslims all around the world, here in the United States, like even here, here in Kansas City, versus those in countries that are so deep in Islamic ideals, that these missionaries can effectively minister to these Muslims. So we just ask that you might consider coming, skipping one meal from the cafeteria, and come with us to pray in the library, and just pray over this time. So.
Okay, well, now you get to listen to me. Just kidding. So it is mouse instead of most. We've infiltrated everything now. I guess that is like them. They are vermin. They do multiply. So, yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapel Preview. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Hill. I'm a professor here at Calvary University. I teach music and theater. I'm the interim department chair of the theater department as well. And you may have noticed that the scenery has changed a little bit in the chapel space. If you haven't, I would be seeing an optometrist soon. So I'm going to introduce you a little bit to it. This is Monkswell Manor Guest House. So welcome. You're all invited to attend. If you arrived today a bit confused about the chapel topic choice and ask yourself, what in the world is a chapel preview? Well, you're in luck, because I'm obviously going to tell you that. When the theater department has a show and we get to perform, we have one day a year, one short day, that we get to come and tell you a little bit about the show. Oh yes, they're already leaving. Oh no. Thus is the life of a theater person, so thank you. Rejection is hard. Anyways, guys, I'm great at improv. I'll keep you rolling if you just pay attention. So anyways, we get to perform this weekend. So we perform Thursday through Sunday. So Thursday through Saturday is a 7:30 performance, and then Sunday is a 2:00 p.m. But we have a special preview, which I sent an email about. We had an accidental typo. The preview is this evening at regular time, 7:30 p.m. in this room. But tickets are $5 as opposed to the regular price. So that is an incentive to come, is that it's cheaper. You know, that's me as a college student. I was like, cheaper? Yes, please. So that's what we're going to do. So normally we would put a scene in front of you, a musical number, or even do a talkback session about the show and the themes behind it. Well, this show has had many twists and turns. We had a full cast minus 2 people before auditions took place. And then auditions came around, and the people who were originally in the show were like, I can't do that. And so slowly my numbers went down. And slowly they kept going. And so I cast the show, not once, not twice, but thrice. And now fourth time. What a weird coincidence this may be. But it happens a lot, and that is where we're here today and have made it through, and it's this weekend. So there's a lot of adversity that comes with it, but that's okay. Now I'm going to walk you through the history of the show and a little synopsis of the show. And basically what I was saying about all of the casting is that people are actually in the community who are doing this, and they have day jobs, so they can't come here, so we have a fun advertisement for you in a little bit. So The Mousetrap, it's a murder mystery play by Agatha Christie. You may know that name. It is very popular, is well known. She has a lot of them. They're coming up in the theater community. Last year they did Witness for the Prosecution. Mousetrap is done mostly through high schools as well, and everyone loves it. This play opened in London's West End in 1952 and ran continuously until March 16th, 2020. I wonder why. And the stage temporarily discontinued it during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it reopened May 17th, 2021. This is the longest running West End show. It also has by far the longest run of a play in the world, with its 29,500th performance having taken place of February 2024, which means it's still going, so there's more than that. And yes, I butchered that number, but nerves. So this is a whodunit play, and yes, that is an actual word, whodunit. The play is a twist ending, with the audience are traditionally asked not to reveal what the ending was after leaving the theater. It's very common. They actually would not let you print what happened in the theater. And also Wikipedia got in trouble because they posted the information about it. So that's something interesting. I'm going to introduce you to some characters we have. We have the Ralstons. We have Molly Ralston. She's the proprietor of Monkswell Manor and the wife of Giles. This is played by Emily Hilton. Emily Hilton was last year in Harvey. She played our judge. Giles Ralston is the husband of Molly, obviously. He runs the Monkswell Manor with his wife, played by Brock Bristow. Then we have Christopher Wren. It's the first guest you see that arrives at this guest house. Wren is a hyperactive young person who acts in a very peculiar manner and admits to running away from many things, but refuses to say what it is. Thus, dun dun dun, motive. And that's played by Gloriana Nichols. Then we have Mrs. Boyle, a critical older woman, and she doesn't care if anyone really likes her, but she's annoying sometimes, you know? So that's played by Valerie Hanna, who is not annoying. She's like the sweetest person you'll ever meet. It's crazy that the sweetest people play the most evil characters. I don't know. It's like maybe it's what they've always wanted to say, and they play those characters, and they're like, yes. And then they go back to, no. I don't know. It's crazy. Major Metcalf is retired from the Army, and little is known about Major Metcalf, and that's played by Heather Ann Norbury. Miss Casewell is the next guest, a strange, aloof, masculine woman, and speaks kind of offhandedly about their horrific childhood, played by Tori Roberts. Tori Roberts is an alumni of Calvary University. She's been in several productions, recently Wonka. So that's a face you'll know. Then we have Miss Paravicini. It's an unknown presence that just randomly shows up because their car overturns in a snowdrift. Not much is known about them, but they have aged themselves in a way with makeup that it is throwing suspicion on them. And that's played by Risa Norbury. And also you'll find throughout the show that people will say the name correctly and then sometimes will not say the name correctly, and just because it's such a weird name. And then you have Detective Sergeant Trotter. The detective, obviously it's in the name, arrives in a snowstorm to ask the questions of the proprietors and guests there. And that will be played by myself. And we joke about this, is that if something goes wrong and Brittany's on stage, well, you know something went wrong. So I'm directing this, but now I'm in it, so it's gonna be fun. Come out and see that. And then we have our voices on the radio. The voices on the radio are the source of news that are relevant to the story. That is voiced by Lydia Novak. She was just up here singing. And Tim Ulrich, wherever he went. There he is. I found you. Cool. So that's kind of what it is. So a little bit of history about this. This play started as a short radio play written by Agatha Christie. It was broadcast on May 30th, 1947, and it was under the name Three Blind Mice. It is a recurring theme you'll see throughout the show. The story drew life from a real tale called it's a case of Dennis O'Neill, who died after he and his brother Terence suffered extreme abuse while in the foster care of a Shropshire farmer and his wife in 1945. So this makes it even more crazy. The play is based on the short story itself, and then it is based on the radio play, obviously. But Christie asked the story not to be published as long as it ran on the play ran in the West End of London, which, as we have just found out, it kept running through 2020 and then came back in 2021. So it's going for a while. The short story has still not been published within the UK, but it has appeared in the US in the 1950 collection, Three Blind Mice and Other Stories. In the United Kingdom, there's only one production of the play in addition to the West End production that can be performed annually, and that's under contract terms of the play. No film adaptations can be produced until the West End production has been closed for at least 6 months. Again, it hasn't stopped. So no one really knows unless you've done the show, and you actually have to purchase the ticket, or the book. But I mean, as I said, Wikipedia kind of spoiled it. But that's what's ended up happening with this. So I find this interesting. And with the contracts and stuff, that's something I've learned with theater, is that you have so many things you have to go through. You have to go talk to someone, and then they say, yeah, cool, let me put that on file for you, just to get the rights of the show. And then they go, oh, hey, we have to ask this person. And when they mean ask this person, they mean another company that's doing it, which could take 3 months or longer. And they said minimum wait time would be 6 weeks, right? So if you want to do something, you have to keep going forward with it. And so in the cases of Wonka a couple years back, we were going to do My Fair Lady, and we submitted the information, and then they said, oh, cool, this is basically your rights, this is the stuff we have, but we're going to hand it off to this person and see if they could do it. And there was a touring company that was doing it that performed the month before we were supposed to perform, and they were like, oh, well, no, that's too close. So they pulled the rights. So in this one, Agatha Christie has 5 companies that you go through, and it depends on where you're located. So it has to go through all of those before they come here. And luckily, we had a good agent, and she was just like, oh, there you go. So it didn't take that long, but it had to go through 5 other companies before even going through other people who had it. So that was crazy. But that's a little bit of how that side of theater works. The play had to be renamed from Three Blind Mice because there was another play that was already in existence, and it had to be changed to now what is called The Mousetrap, because Christie's son-in-law, Anthony Hicks, actually came up with the idea, and there's a lot more that goes into it, but I won't go there. Then in the show, as I said, the murderer's identity is divulged near the end of the play. It's a twisted ending and unusual for playing there because it's not the basic traditional whodunit. And each performance, we ask the audience not to reveal the identity of the killer to anyone outside the theater to ensure that the end of the play is not spoiled for future audiences. So this play, it's set in Great Hall of Monkswell Manor, Berkshire. Act 1 opens with the murder of a woman named Maureen Lyon, and it's played out over the sound system and lights up on the Monkswell Manor, recently converted into a guest house. And they're run by the young couple, Miles, oh my goodness, that's their couple name. Wow. Molly and Giles Ralston. While waiting for the guests to arrive, Molly listens to a radio report about the Lyon murder, which notes the police are looking for an individual in a dark overcoat and observed near the scene. Their guests arrive and the plot continues, and then the next afternoon, the guest house proves to be snowed in, and the residents are restless. Molly answers the telephone and is told that a police officer is going to arrive, and then they find out the phone has stopped working. And then the police arrive and explains what has happened here and about. And 3 blind mice show up. Not really, just kidding. I was seeing if you were paying attention. No, they find a notebook that says, hey, this is the address of Monkswell Manor, and that's why they decided to come. And inside the notebook was the words 3 blind mice, thus the connection of the story. Everyone denies that they had any knowledge of this case, and as the evening wears on, the opening notes of 3 blind mice are heard whistling by an unknown party, and our next victim is found strangled. I'll leave the story there, and if you'll have to come to this weekend to learn what happens. So at this moment, I'm going to ask Dr. Bittner to come up. He's going to give you more of like what's happening in this historical time, and after that, I'll have Dr. Hange as well.
Thank you. This is set in 1952, so we're going to talk about 1952 a little bit. And we have I Like Ike, which is going on in the United States. Winston Churchill on the right there had been the Prime Minister in World War II, and he's come back again as Prime Minister of England in December of 1951. And then up on the left is something that's going to come up I'll talk about very briefly. Next slide. Okay, so 1952 year in review. Next. Okay, King George VI died, and Queen Elizabeth II became the Queen of England in 1952. Winston Churchill is again Prime Minister. The UK exploded their first atomic bomb in Australia in October. I'm sure the Australians were really happy about that. And then we have the Great London Smog. More on that later. Next, the best motion picture that year was American in Paris. Next, best actor is Humphrey Bogart. Next, in The African Queen. Best actress, Vivien Leigh in A Streetcar Named Desire. Next, the price of gasoline is 27 cents in the United States. Now, let me caveat that. It went down to 19.9 cents a gallon in 1961. And how do I know this? Because I pump gas as a very small individual for a living, actually, in that time frame. That's $3.24 today. Next, price of gasoline in the UK was 4 shillings plus, about $11.68 today. So the price of gasoline in the UK was very high. Next, so Coca-Cola, 5 cents a bottle. Next, college. This is actually a college tuition at Harvard was $600 a year. I think it's 50 or 60,000 now, something like that. The college. Next, please. Price of college at Calvary. This is 1944, so I totally messed this up. It should be, say, 52. Was $40 of tuition per year. Okay, and our goal is to get back to that, right? Next, the UK government required television to end broadcasting at 10:30 in the evening because who knows? They did. Next slide, please. Okay, the UK economy. The economy in the United Kingdom was a disaster. In the United States, during World War II, we had rationing, like gasoline, tires, all kinds of things, and food, butter, those kinds of things were all rationed. The same thing occurred in the UK. However, in the US, rationing went away. In the UK, it did not because, again, their economy was a total disaster. Next. So, things that were rationed, the meat. This is beef, I think. Next, bacon. And the dates, 1954, this is the year the rationing ended. From 1945 to 1954, these items were rationed with ration books. You can see the ration books on the right there. Next, ham. Next, cheese. Next, butter. Next, cooking oil. Next, eggs. Next, cream, sugar, sweets and chocolate until 53. Tea in the UK was rationed, of all things, until 1952. And then lastly, coal. Coal, which was what they heated with, which is causing a problem we're going to talk about in just a second, was rationed until 1958. Next. Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. So the Great London Smog, we'll talk about that now. This occurred in December of 1952 because of coal. There was a weather phenomena which created a layer above which coal smoke could not go. And this is about 200 meters above the surface of the ground. And this lasted from, I think, I have it coming up a little bit later, 4 or 5 or 6 days. 12,000 Londoners died. About 100,000 people became ill. 100,000 people in London died because of respiratory illness from this. The hospitals were overloaded. It was a disaster. If anyone has seen The Crown, the series, this is actually depicted in one of the episodes. High-grade coal was exported because the Brits needed the money. By selling their high-grade coal abroad, they sold low-grade coal domestically. And this low-grade coal was contributed to this, wasn't the cause of it, but contributed to this disaster. Next, this is a picture of what it was like in London. There were times where you could not see your hand in front of your face. It was so bad. Next. Then we have the Great Stocking Caper, which, and this actually comes up in the play. Although it's touched on briefly, there's a lot of these things in the play that's contemporary with the times you don't know anything about. So I picked one of those, the Great Stocking Caper. So we have the Queen Mary on the left. We have stuff that's been the black market stuff on the photo on the right that's being loaded on the Queen Mary. Next slide. So next. Nylon stockings were invented in 1939 by an engineer at DuPont. This is on the eve of World War II. Nylon itself is a really important war material that's used in making a lot of things. So it was embargoed and used for the war. So nylon stockings were not supposed to be available during the war itself. Next, World War II prevented the availability in the UK along with everywhere else. Next, there was a huge British trade imbalance. Not only were they selling coal abroad, their best coal went away. Nylon stockings were produced in the UK and then sold abroad, and you couldn't get them in the country. So they were exporting these items because of the trade imbalance, because they owed a lot of money. By the way, they shipped gold here to the US, to Fort Knox, to pay for the stuff that they were buying from us. So we got a lot of their gold in the process. So because of the trade imbalance, the stockings were going overseas. Then they were being packaged and sent back in the black market. So they were coming back to the UK. Next. So there's a black market trade in nylons from New York to Southampton. This was shut down by the authorities in 1952. Smugglers used the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth, two passenger ships, to smuggle stuff in. They got 6 shipments in before they got caught. So that process was shut down. Next, new smuggling routes were set up through Gibraltar and through Malta. These are both British possessions in the Mediterranean. Well, Gibraltar is kind of Atlantic Med kind of thing. But these are owned by the Brits. And what they were doing was they were acquiring stockings, and they were sending them by mail to subscribers in England, and these were called tax-exempt gifts. Well, that got caught on too. And this was shut down because those are both UK territories and they could do that. So then the operation shifted to Tangier. Tangier was an open free city. And it was like a Wild West in Tangier economically. So the smugglers were operating out of Tangiers, and they were handling 45 tons of stockings a year. Okay, next. So in the States, there is a mafia boss by the name of Lucky Luciano. Lucky got involved in the stocking smuggling operation. He sent a guy over there to run it. His name was Nylon Sid Paley. And Nylon Sid created smuggling pathways to get stockings into Europe and the UK as well, because continental Europe was having the same problem getting stuff in because of the war. The war was over, but it was still hard to do. Eventually, Paley was involved in a piracy act unrelated to the stockings, and he was tried and convicted, but his sentence was suspended, because he was a nice guy. No, I think they paid off the judge, because this is in Tangiers when this has happened. Sid promised that he would stick to smuggling rather than piracy, and everybody was happy with that, because it's a money-making operation in Tangiers. And that is an example of the kinds of things that were going on in 1952. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm here to talk to you about nursery rhymes as literature and in literature. All right, is this thing working? Let's see. Ching, ching. Oops. How about I turn it on? There we go. All right. So, you guys know by now that the Mousetrap was originally titled Three Blind Mice. Here's the question, though. Why was it called Three Blind Mice? What does that have to do with the story? It was changed to the Mousetrap, and the Mousetrap is the play within the play that Hamlet held for his uncle. See, he suspects that his uncle has killed his father, has poisoned his father, took the throne and married his mother, of course, and so he suspects that his uncle is guilty of this, so he has a play arranged called The Death of Gonzongo, but he calls it the Mousetrap because he's going to watch this play as it occurs, and he's going to trap his uncle and see his uncle's reaction as the man in the play poisons his brother, the king. And from that, he will tell whether his uncle actually committed the murder. But why was this play originally called Three Blind Mice? You know what? Before I get to that, English folk tales, let's take a look at them in folk rhymes and nursery songs. They do a lot of things. They record history. They teach a moral lesson. They reflect on a theme. They provide some kind of fun tune. And they become part of culture. And they change drastically over time. And they go all over the world. Some of them didn't even originate in England. But they came to England and then got exported here. Their original meaning is often lost. Often they're metaphors, sort of secret allusions to things that happen in real life. And there's a lot of argument today. There are very few that we can actually pin down and say this is exactly what it is. The rhyme also becomes adapted for different purposes, which adds to the meaning. So what is the meaning of Three Blind Mice, and how does it relate to this play? Before I tell you that, Agatha Christie named a lot of her stories after nursery rhymes. Five Little Pigs, okay, that's a fairy tale, not a nursery rhyme, but still. Sing a Song of Sixpence, Hickory Dickory Dock, 1, 2, Buckle My Shoe, but why Three Blind Mice? Before I tell you that, though, let's look at a couple more. Rockabye Baby on the Treetop. You guys are familiar with this lullaby. It was printed in 17, I forget, my eyes are bad, 65 in the first Mother Goose anthology. The 1791 version stated that its moral had to do with pride and arrogance and how people who hold high positions can fall. There are a number of theories about where it actually came from. Some think that this was a death wish for James II, the bad Catholic, according to the Protestant King of England in the 1600s, and the Protestants wanted to see his line end, and so it was kind of the death wish for his son. There are some other theories as well. Some think that it came over from the Mayflower back to England because they watched Native American women put their children in tree cradles. Some of these nursery rhymes, we argue drastically about their meaning. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. How many of you have heard that this has to do with the Black Plague, right? Well, there are a lot of people who widely refute this and say, no, it doesn't have to do with the Black Plague because that version didn't come about until the mid-1800s, and that the versions before it had to do with dancing and curtsying, and so there's a lot of argument about this. It could be that it was adapted to refer to the Black Plague so that it really does, but none of us really know. But what does this have to do with Three Blind Mice and what it means to the play? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. But back to Three Blind Mice. Here's the original version of Three Blind Mice. Three Blind Mice, or at least, sorry, not original, the oldest recorded. There is a difference. The oldest recorded version is from a 1609 anthology by Thomas Ravencroft, and it says Three Blind Mice, Dame Julian, the miller and his merry old wife, she scraped her tripe, lick thou the knife, Three Blind Mice. Now, this was sung as a round. It's kind of a weird thing. Dame Julian was, we believe, a famous anchoress, which is kind of like a nun, and we don't know who the miller and his merry wife were. We have no idea why you would want to lick a knife after it's been used to prepare a dish of sheep guts, but this is at least the oldest recorded version. However, there are other versions running around, and we think one of the other versions may have been this one that became the later version, Three Blind Mice, see how they run, see how they run. They all run after the farmer's wife who cut off their tails with a carving knife. Did you ever see such a sight in your life as Three Blind Mice? Now, what does this one mean? And what does that have to do with the play? Well, I'll tell you that in a minute. But before that, let's look at the possible meaning of Three Blind Mice, at least this version. Mouse was a derogatory term used for Protestant ministers in general in the church, for the Church of England. This very delightful-looking woman is Mary I, also called Bloody Mary, who's Henry VIII's daughter. She's a little bit mad at Henry VIII for, I don't know, killing her mother and instituting the Anglican Church. So she decides that she's going to wipe out Protestantism in England. So it could be that she is the farmer's wife who cuts off the tails of the three blind mice, and the three blind mice may be referring to the famous Oxford martyrs, Cranmer, Latimer, and Ridley. But we don't really know if this is the meaning of this story. What does this have to do with the play and why it's called Three Blind Mice? I'll tell you in a minute. Now, why did Agatha Christie choose this name? Well, it provides a point of connection with the audience because they all know the three blind mice, and so it's kind of a fun way to connect it. There is something about the theme that connects with the story. We'll look at that in a moment. This play, of course, has been running since 1952, as we have already been told, and people have been sworn to secrecy every time they observe this play. Could the reference to Three Blind Mice have to do with the plot? So the specific connection to Three Blind Mice, here's my best answer for you. Come to the play and figure it out. Bye.
Okay, how am I supposed to go on after that? Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Okay, so I'll wrap it up, but this is our little advertisement for you. We'll see if the sound's working. There we go.
Hello, I am Molly Ralston,
And I'm Giles Ralston.
and we would like to welcome you to our Monkswell Manor guest house.
Our guest house is located in the Berkshire countryside, just 30 miles outside of London.
We have a well-appointed lounge with comfortable furniture. You can peruse the books in the library or use the writing desk. For those musically inclined, there's an excellent piano in the drawing room.
Enjoy wonderful homemade meals cooked by Molly herself. She makes the best pies.
Sleep in one of our cozy bedrooms, each with the traditional English theme. Enjoy a peaceful retreat in our garden. We hope you enjoy your stay in the quiet countryside.
Write us today to book your room.
Okay, so if that doesn't entice you to see what they're talking about and coming in here and seeing, because like, wait a second, it's part of the show right there. So I'll wrap as quickly as I can. Not like that wrapping, but I said why the Mousetrap? As every year, the theater chooses a show for the season, and usually it alternates drama, comedy, traditional musical, Shakespeare, etc. And so this year we chose a dramatic mystery thriller. And again, we chose another Agatha Christie, but due to casting limitations and trying to get the rights, it's kind of hard. So we went with another option with this one, and it's a great classic, and it's well loved by many people. As you see, it's been running since 1952, so it has to be well loved. There's a reason why it's run this long, and it's, as I said, a classic. Everyone who watches it is intrigued. The show explores themes of trust, betrayal, and the complexities of human nature. What I love about theater and music in general is that the arts bring people together. It's one of the few places that people can come together from all walks of life, and they enjoy a moment in time together. And unfortunately, sets, costuming, and other elements don't magically happen themselves. It takes time, details, and many people to make things happen. As you see in this set, every time you come in the chapel, you see, oh, look, there's more to that. There keeps coming. So it takes a lot of people in order to make this happen. This set in particular is a brainstorm, Becky Bittner. So this beautiful little designs we have on the walls stuff, it is put together by the help of the cast, crew, and a couple of our friends in the theater community. And so as I mentioned, we have 8 members in the cast, and there is probably 15 people who actually have worked on this set. And that's low in comparison to most things. Most of the time, it's up in the 20s for that and higher, way higher than that. So, and most of them are trained. We are not. We were given power tools and said, have at it. Good luck. So sometimes we see things like this and we take it for granted because we're like, oh, that's cool. That's great. That just happened. And we don't see the value of having a community or individuals dedicated to working or providing this ministry or form of art. And yes, I did call it a ministry. Theater is a ministry. Arts in general is a ministry. And there are so many individuals who are involved in this area. And the arts, and especially theater, has been a place for the outcasts and undesirables. People blossom on the stage, and they are seen and heard, whereas they may not feel like that in real life. I felt called to do this because it's an area that's hard to reach certain individuals. You also have children and adults who need to be taught that it's okay to stand your ground, your morals. It's okay not to compromise them. And I've had the wonderful opportunity the last 5 years to teach students from the age 4 and all the way up through adulthood, and just to help them connect and create relationships with others, or I can connect and create relationships with these individuals who would not normally darken the doors of a church. And people are more willing to listen to you and what you have to say if you actually take the time to get to know them. And this provides a great opportunity to minister or come alongside those in the industry and show them the love of Christ. Remember, you're the only Bible that some people will read. I mean, let that sink in. If they're the only people they see, and you're the only time that they're going to get that information, shouldn't we be spending our time in our activities and other hobbies or things that we love, showing the love of Christ? Because that reflects. We are reflections of him. So the arts themselves are a ministry, and so they impact people's lives. I mean, during COVID, I don't know what you were doing, but most people were streaming a lot of movies. They were streaming music, things like that. This is a crazy thing that people are like, oh, but the arts don't matter, we'll defund that. That's interesting, because what kept you through that? It kept you sane. Books. We had literature. We have music. We had productions. Movies were halted, but we have other movies that were streamed or released as an incentive. That is intriguing to see, like, this is how people connect. Music is universal, and anyone can understand it. One can hear music in another language and enjoy it. These are notes I talk about in music appreciation all the time. I've said it's people can connect. It doesn't matter if I don't understand your language. I can appreciate what you have. Infants hear it, and they can be lulled to sleep, or they just enjoy it. Music touches people, and it's in a way we cannot explain to others. And it's different for everyone. It connects people from different walks of life. It also provides insight to different cultures, countries, and it's a way for people to experience a different part of the world without actually getting out of their bed. So, theater does the same thing. People can connect based on the love of a storyline, music, or character, and people connect with shows themselves because it either relates to their lives at the moment or they see themselves or others through it. In this show, you may not connect very well with some characters, but you may find one person and you're like, that's me. That's my energy, right? And I find things like that, and I go and we call that, oh, that would be a role that I would go for if those auditions came out. I'd be like, that's my role. And so that's kind of interesting what we see with there. As individuals, we long for connection, and whether it be the world, with the world, or a relationship with others, we are emotional beings that were meant for connection. And that is what is so beautiful about our relationship with Christ, that he wants to get to know us. He is longing for you to tell him anything and everything. And yes, he is all-knowing, but he wants you to want to share it with him. He wants you to not bring just the bad things, but he wants you to bring the good things too. He wants you to say, hey, I'm excited to share this story with you, right? We're excited to share this story with you, but this should be just like us. We give this to our Father, and we're like, I'm excited for this. This is a part of my story. This is this. I know that you're like, this is a really loose adaptation. She's not a preacher. Yes, I am not. But you're stuck with me, so sucks for you. But that's okay. Anyway, sorry. I get really nervous when I'm speaking in front of people, which is odd because I love to perform. It's the most weird backwards thing, but it's a thing. So I want to encourage you that this is all about different things. We have different ways we connect. People connect because they love sports. People connect because they love chess. I still don't understand that, but good for you. And so that is so much. We have so many things that we are wanting that connection with. This show, you find connections throughout how each person is connected to each other or to a murderer or anything. You have to come and find out why and who it is, and then can't tell anyone, so secrecy, please. So again, thank you for coming on this little tangent with me. And as you can see, I'm very passionate about what I do, but I'm very nervous when I speak about it. So I would love for you to come and just see the rest of the show as it comes about. Do you have any questions or comments, concerns? Great. I got all the information, or you have fallen asleep. So I hope it's all the information. Anyways, so tonight, as I said, this is a final preview. This is $5 tickets at the door. You can also purchase them online. There was a typo, but it's $5 just for tonight. Any other time is $15 for an adult, students 12, and seniors 12. So that would be Thursday through Sunday. Okay, I'll see. Dr. Paxton, would you like to pray for us? I know, I put you on the spot, sorry.
Preach prayer died at a moment's notice. All right, thank you guys. Let's pray. Father God, thank you for the opportunity that we have to engage in the arts, to rejoice with those who have poured their work and their time into putting this show on for us, Lord. Thank you for the messages that you present to us in story. Lord, thank you how story teaches us lessons. It teaches us about who we are. It teaches us about who you are. And Lord, I pray that you will bless the cast and everyone who is involved in putting on this show. May we all come out and enjoy the fruits of their efforts, and may we learn more about you and who you are and how you relate to us and how we are to relate to one another in the message of the mousetrap. In Jesus' name, amen.